Sweet is education naziolayo. Sweet is a COVID naziolayo. Sweet kati nabagamba nti omuzu yetise TV ne radio za Museveni. Museveni bamutwala mu factory ekola batule nga bataddewo ne Museveni abawonedde watono. I'm telling you, abana bano Museveni abawonedde watono because they don't have any political orientation. When the president makes a promise, you must fulfill it. What if Museveni radio zino yazigaba ne TV maka? That is a campaign. Na wandika katabo kanga how to manage certificate elections era tumwebaze n'akakwata natula ne banne batona
twakasoma wanene kasatu akasoma
wakozeseze mumuyinza okunkozesa mu binalabanga muli boro
bajja n'engato zabe zibale abazuufa
ne mpandika katabo kano nakawandika for God and my country, written in Monday, June 2017, completed on the 26th June 2:30 p.m. at my home in Njengera, dedicated to my mother Tamale Mirundi, to whom I have caused a lot of suffering. I'm sure antibody bamukubi
bakubanga gwe
nagamba nti Mafia threatens Museveni survive ngamazo kulaba mutwala nempandika akataba akalala how to save a tongue from suicidal teeth ngamazo bategeera balonyesa Museveni ba mu nyumba obanya abaana ne bagamba nti abaana batuuka ekiseera ne balowooza nti kitaabu bwavaawo batekinga pawo
misali kituufu
babatta
kubanga oli abadde amanyi bwa controlling ayo
okwata otya pawa nga buli kimu ekibba ng'oyagala okusikira sheeke ng'oliwandiga eyonya omwengo olyambizi
ate
olumba ennyanja n'otabaala amata n'otabaala buli kantu konna nti kuba amawulire gamu
ate osobola okusikira sheeke ng'obadde otamiira
kakati
Mafia
nebandika akatabo kano
mulimu mulungi nnyo
nti omulimba asanga mukkiriza kaali kannyonnyola mu Luganda era kali mu nnimi zonna omulimba asanga mukkiriza ti bye boogera byonna ku Museveni si bituufu bya bulimba I can demolish them.
Wali ogezaako kusangulawo
we yalagira fulume nemba wandikira akatabo kano factors that will affect Museveni's
2021 polls
nti kati performance yete ya radio since
yafunya 58.38
factors I identified naye olwokubanga ababibbiramu baali babibbiramu nga tebaagala mbutumwebaza alinfugako talinfugako nti omuka alinfugako talinfugako nti ntweyakusa alinfugako talinfugako
walonono
talinfugako naye mbagamba nti adjusting
the trap
naye mbagamba kana akatabo kabannyonnyola
nti
okusimba mu mugongo will not solve
tekimala
because you are changing the methodology gyemukyusa
naye kizibu kikyaliwo musoke
nawandika akatabo kange kano mu 2 kakadde naye nzize nkankukuleetinga Joseph Tamale Mirundi nakawandika 2:6 nembaga kukipusa Museveni mu pawa nga bano abaana bwe bannemeddwa akagulupo kaabwe nengakuba nenkawanika omulabewo alinga bulwadde. The moment you fail to diagnose a disease, you cannot provide an answer. So what about abazungu bagezi? Nabaga nti COVID yajja kutta abantu bangi. Why? His answer is simple. How can you tell somebody nti okunaaba mu ngalo kwe kukuwonya? Akawuka akakutte Queen tanaaba. Akakutte Katikiro wa Bungereza tanaaba. Akasaba yimbi bonna abagezi abazungu abali hygienic. Nembagamba if you go to the university and find in an economic exam 1+1 at the university, can you send it is 2? Obwongo bwo bukugamba nti 1+1 tesobola kujja mu university. And remember government COVID, because the answer is simple, it will kill many people.
Simple solution.
Yes, until they brought masks, until they keep us serious. They open up a munga. Abazungu bakozesa bijiiko. Abazungu tebeekwata mu ngalo. Hello. Hi. Kakati ne mbagamba nti abalabe ba Museveni tebamumanyi. Ajja kubufuga binywa. Because Museveni is not a gambler, Museveni is not a fumbler.
Wagandi waliwo nti bonna tebalina nsonga.
Museveni yabalema era njagala okubabuulira. Museveni will hand over power to his selected successor. Bano bonna balwanira bwereere.
Kakati abantu bali mu positioning okugamba nti
anti ajjabba kuba abamalewo. Nabagamba kitagenda azaala bagenzi. That's what a Muganda says. A Muganda says, once you live longer, you bury your own children. All of them would be successors of Museveni. Nabaga nti nze mu 20 nali ne tumukunde ng'anoonya busika. Mbabazi n'abunoonya. Bukenya n'abunoonya. What Museveni does, the Museveni is underestimated by his enemies. Museveni is not a fumbler. Museveni yabagamba ekigambo n'abagamba temuyina vision. Nembaga nti vision temukitegeera. Vision si magezi. Vision si butetenkanya. Vision si kuyiiya. Tabavumye. Nawulidde aga nti this is my vision. Professor Namuga is not a vision. This is your desires. A vision is an idea that one has that will materialize in a period not less than 20 years. Museveni ekintu kyagenda okukola akibala emyaka yakibala emyaka nabagambye nti many people think nti Museveni went to the bush because of rigged elections. Which one came first? Museveni in Dar es Salaam, he decided to go to Dar es Salaam where politics Nyerere yali awa bakule freedom ne mu kibiina kye nga tebalonda yeye kaninga balaba balonda. Unlike other leaders. Kakati gundi ya musanga wa wakapabula. Galanga ya musanga. Galanga yaje kusoma masters mu Dar es Salaam. Because Nyerere had some liberalism. Museveni goes to Dar es Salaam. Akuganti amateeka nagagana. Kasita baba introducing ko case ndio musajja yabba ente nagikweka mu nsishira mukazi we nagiropa omulamuzi n'agamba tinno mu mateeka bakugamba a married woman, officially married woman cannot give evidence against the other. Why? Or vice versa. You are one person. Kakati bwekwatuuka mu kesi eno omuzungu n'agamba obujulizi bw'omukazi tujja butwala. Africans don't marry. The African marriage does not qualify to this case. Museveni kyekyamugoba mu mateeka nagenda nasoma kalikosanti. Kakati nkugamba nti nabagamba mu 2006 katabo kakadde nabagamba ti Museveni's political opponents do not understand him. Politics is like a medicine. If you want to control virus, you must make a research on it. The outcome of a research will guide medical practitioners to prescribe an effective drug or know or how to limit the virus infection rate. Likewise, in politics, one has to study the political opponent. Museveni tebamubala nabana abaana tebambala nabalema nti ono omuko bw'owasamula wasabalabirizi gwofuga ekkanisa nojja notwala 5 billion embwa nogoba nosuula kasasiro nti nzaikanigwe ku bwadivaiza abantu 100 waidayiko to school nomulimu nabatambala nga because I looked at the president ye yali alowooza nti nja kubonaabona for welfare purposes not at all.
sirinyangayo ono omwana omulenzi yali ajja kunya ku mutwe mutumani wakajiji n'agamba aikanijjevu mirundi egyo bugenda okubinnyo najjako pulogulamu nali kubetensa omutwe bwantwala media center gwe kani ejjano bikamwe paratuninomutwe oyo omwana I cannot become a platoon commander. Nakula Mango, spokesperson of the president, among the Baganda, the only person who moves back was the witch.
The witch?
Me can blow Atamulanga the Chenyaman Mahomes. Not the witch. The Chuchak, which I have made. Nicola Munda. Navagamba, Titwina, Avanto Movio first, barricade. Navagamba. We have the idealists. They don't believe that the politics is like a justice. That in the politics, you can have everybody ground. They believe that the political weaklings should be given a silver platter opportunity without a sweat drop of their own. They believe that the political power is so easy to access. Uganda's Democratic Party belongs to this category. DP expected the President Yoweri Museveni to hand over power to them in 1986 because they claimed that he used the 1980 elections, which they allegedly won, to start a guerrilla war that ushered him into power 5 years later. This type of reasoning is also simplistic. Anybody who says that President Museveni went to the bush because UPC defrauded the 1980 elections is being naive and crude in the thinking. Did Museveni go to Mozambique and North Korea in search of military training in 1969, aware that there would be rigging elections in 1980? Was he visited by Angel Gabriel? Museveni must have realized at a tender age that the military was the defining factor at the time in Uganda's politics. He knew that without an armed wing, a political party, however articulate and eloquent was, it was helpless. Era DP bwosoma katabo kange the wisdom of a fisherman nkubuulira tekumacha twakera ku DP headquarters nze nali chairman wa youth wing ya DP tukeera ku DP headquarters kusanga nnya tulaba Semwogerera ayambadde bulungi nnyo ne Mafia asingooli ne high commissioner wa Bungereza ne batusiibula tugenze kukima buyinza bwa muwanga tetwaddamu kubalaba tugenda ku ssaawa 9 baaziriyo najja batulimbye mbw abakyoli bagenda kuwamba oboto edda before on the 9 oyita ojja okuvisite Semwogerera ne batugamba erubaga bwe yabeeranga bwe yali apangisa mu nnyumba ya beeri ti amwasuwalinze agenda muwapawo baaziriyo yayimirira ku balukoni ya DP ekitebe kya DP kyali wano opposite kasiwuuke kuba petition waliwo n'ekizimbe kya muganda wa Virumira ogundi Bill Gates awo wenyini ku Wilson ewali ekitebe kya DP baaziriyo n'ayimirira n'atugamba maze ennaku 3 seebaka kaakati mugende muwulire ebivudde mu kulonda mubiwulire ku leediyo zammwe badde dakiikaaga nga baaziriyo ayambadde esapula enzirugavu mukatuliki munnaffe yatutwala emisinde ekiro ekyo nga 10 emizinga gyavuga mu lubiri nga teryafuluma mu nju. Paulo Muwanga n'ayisuinga directive ti omuntu yenna ayogera ku bivudde mu kulonda asibwa emyaka simanyi emeka n'okutanga emitwalo 6 oba okukola byombi. Ne Kalidinaali Nsubuga yatya okwogera ye yasooka ku layini kali nalondera Lubaga kali nali Nsubuga yakeera ku layini yasooka okulonda. Nobody could defy Muwanga's directive. Muwanga n'awamba obuyinza. Tanti nkubuulidde ate Muwanga yasooka n'alimba aba DP Paulo ne Paulo era eyali chairman wa DP mu Mukono district chairman wa DP bamuyitanga Kiwanuka Musisi yawa Paulo Muwanga seddume yente okumwebaza okutegeka okulonda kuba Muwanga bwe yawamba gavumenti yayita aba DP n'aleeta Lawrence Sebalu olubakuba binayinsa kuba DP yo yali emanyi tekasita binayinsa bakubambuleerayo yo yewangula yes nga bo Muwanga yabazanyira nnyo ku bwongo. Muwanga knew how to play his games. Kati nkugamba. Therefore, with or without the 19 elections, Museveni would have snatched any chance to fight. He knew that the key players at the time had different ideological programs for Uganda. Museveni was sure to utilize an advantage to realize his goals. He joined the Obote's government in 1970 to advance his political objectives. He crossed from DP to UPC the moment he realized that the DP could not enable him to achieve his aims. Museveni joined the anti-army struggle, which had to form a personal army. Joining this government later denied and revolted at an appropriate time and went to the bush. Museveni yaganti nti n'okulonda kwa kinana kisakulina mu nkusi. Naganti nze nali njagala akalulu bakazanyiremu mbeerewo lumu. Nali njagala bazannye omuzannyo gw'obusiru mbeerewo lumu. Yes. Era it is alleged nti mu 75 Museveni yaweereza abasajja okuva e Mozambique ne batambula Uganda yonna ne bali commendinga Luweero is suitable for good daily activities. 75 elections zaali zakinana zaali zibadde. Yes. Ate ekitabo kye tebaakisoma nze nekisitusa mu Luganda ne bakiremera naye akugamba nti mukaaga mu mukaaga bagenda ewa Mutaswere yali katikkiro bawa Ankole ne bamugamba nti naye muntu otakuyigirira nti ate mundu tulina. This is when he dawned on Museveni the gun is a deciding factor. When Museveni went to North Korea, he insisted in the student. Yes, at the time. Nkugamba. At the surface, Museveni's general political outlook over the past favors the assertion that he was an opportunist, jumping at any political bandwagon. To understand him, otherwise, however, you have to look at the history of former British Prime Minister Churchill. He changed the political parties the moment they became useless to his objectives and interests. Museveni has admitted several times that he was always after his interests. I quote him, "My decisions are always mission-oriented." He told a group of the former campaigners at his country home at Rwachitula soon after the presidential election. Had invited them to review the NRM and his personal programs and the plans of the 2011 presidential election. Realists, this is where I belong. Realists study and understand the deep context of the issue, depending on the prevailing situation. I cannot, for example, expect President Museveni to retire before certain prejudices are in place. I cannot expect Museveni to hand over power to a hostile group like FDC who are paying for his political blood. They are by composition a party driven by malice and vendetta. It would be foolhardy to expect Museveni or any other politician to hand over political power to any other party, be it DP or whatever, after spearheading a bloody war. The question would be, why did he fight in the first place? Was he a mercenary hired by the DP? Realists, therefore, see things as they are not as wish. Hence, they have a realistic view over any issue. Whenever one of them will remember what family, if you are not obedient, ajja kukuba omutwogo ne galubindi bazimalewo. Toyinza kuvuma Abaganda nti Abaganda balinga kondomu enkozeseeko onulikodi singa nkikuba odduka kano n'entwe yaako kadduka bakakuba Abaganda ne bakaasa omutwe nodira akasajja akakubya Abaganda ne kabamala mu kabaka akawadde obwami kati kajjeko emmengo bakabetente. I'm a realist. No, nkugamba. Lowland dwellers, these are people who are not in the corridors of power but have a clear view of the leadership. Though they are not part of the regime, they have a clear understanding of all the political players, including the president. Bantu baita balola. If you want to say clear view of Chibuli, tobera nsambya mu balance. Aliye wambuka talaba muzikiti kule Chibuli. Though is me. If you want to see a clear view of Chibuli, you go to Odi Kampala, olaba n'abasala. So if we want to understand a leader, be far away from him. It is only a married couple that understand the other. Fetuli balola. Nti omusajja aliye kabuuso afiirawo nga talabangako nti koyalubaga. The more you are near the mountain, you don't see its apex. That's why Museveni yagoba bambabasi nagoba Besigye n'abagoba bonna n'abamalawo. They don't understand him. Babitandisa bakategaya because they are near the mountain, they don't see the apex of the mountain. Once you are near a leader, you don't understand him.
They might even sit on the apex itself.
Kakati negamba mountain dwellers bevokuugirako. The mountain dwellers, these are people who are very close to the apex of the leadership, but never bother to understand the president. They only realize the real popularity of a leader after being sacrificed and fallen from grace. They are politicians who serve certain purposes in the infancy stages of any regime. Their naivety even fails them to tell when their importance to the regime is declining. Bukenya yaga nti maze myezi mukaaga nga siraba president, vice president is and now tuchita conclusive statement. I have not seen the president for 6 months. The mafias have prevented me to see the president for 6 and now conclude. I have tendered in my resignation. Tuchita conclusive statements. You don't stop in the middle.
You pronounce yourself.
Anti-tategate day. Abata tategeera nti bamugoba dda emufu amalina ku 40 abasiraamu nga mufu asirioli n'olyoka watambula n'olabye chairman w'abasuma mu Uganda ow'abazu ng'alikodinga pulogulamu yange agitwalayo nendaba bakashamba agenze ew'omuntu amutumyeyo amubuuze lisiti y'abantu Museveni bamusindisa okukwata bakashamba kasana mukubye simu yajijeeko simu kadi ndala nene mpye report nze kubyo baina abakozesa abaganda bagamba nti siwe muke yafa n'omwami. It's a fool that dies with the dethroned king. Isolate him. Muduke agudde yes kyobula bwoboti bali bamutidde wano wakasese bamukwakira wano nga Kasendwa Ddumba yaddukadde nalaba Kasendwa Ddumba akulira yiso ngaali waffe kyotera yenywera mwe ngaalinda crossinga Tanzania niyo boti bamutwalira mu bbuutu. I'll die here. I came in the bampe ne bavuga yengera mangu gwe bbuutu ya moto basajja batuuse mu kkubo kakati nkugamba how does Museveni defeat his enemies? Kugamba by 206 kana katabana kawandika 206 na kakaddamu emirundi ng'enyo. Who keeps Museveni in power and how Museveni defeats his enemies. Museveni's survival instinct. I have pointed out earlier that Museveni's opponents and confidants lack a clear conception of him. He's like a card player who tightly holds his cards to the chest and pulls out surprises every time he moves. Oh, Museveni is like a host who hides the menu from his visitors. Visitors will keep guessing what the next dish would be. These are some of the attributes of a guerrilla politician. So fearful of betrayal, he is very mean with the future plans. 206. I can confidently state here that nobody is fully privy to Museveni's future plans. Such a leader is very difficult to understand and fight out of power.
He doesn't take things for granted.
Museveni makes surprises. akweka mmeno Museveni akweka mmeno ani yali amanya akabwayi when he makes appointments in surprise ani yali amanya akabwayi nti asobola kubeera chairman w'electoral commission anti kyenkubuulira Museveni makes surprises anaamusikira ojja mwewuunya anaamusikira ojja kumwewuunya naye nkugamba this is so because he does not have survival capability from anybody but himself. He ensures that his personal survival instincts are at play all the time. Therefore, no defection can understand his government, can undermine his government. Even if there comes a misunderstanding between these people or confidence and they defect, they do not go with the vital information about his future plans. This explains by 2006 why none of the defectors to date has ever weakened his regime. In fact, they end up weakening themselves. Ani avudde mu government ya Museveni ate ani avudde mu government ya Museveni namukolako straight. Anti kiri bwekiti Museveni alina ebintu bibiri andi kankubuulire Museveni alina ebintu bibiri bibatamanyi. In politics tulina kyetuyita political power following. When you go to Kenya, because of their politics, their political kingpins in every tribe. But Museveni teyakuriyetingawo situation ayita mu muntu. Museveni does not rule this country through proxy. He can afford, Museveni can afford to attack a movement. Museveni can afford okuleta etteka erisiba bakabaka nga kabaka atanyiza okuzanyisa ekitunda. Nze riskiteeka anti nkubuulidde nti yali azimba ekintu ki talina proxy. Ate okuva mu nsiko baabala bubi. Museveni yaleeta emirembe, Museveni yaleeta emirembe is not NRM. Everything was constructed on Museveni. Kibonge kyanini abaana ba Museveni obasanga eyo baana baani benarem Museveni yaleeta emirembe senarem anti nkugambye bo be bakizimba fe tubala nti Obote yali tasobola kufuga nga alina babilidadi muwonge nga alina kafeero kongulesi ewaffe mu kyalo nga alina kabira nyendo za minya nga buli area ayinamu because a leader is not known, a leader is marketed. Who knew Obote? Obote was marketed by others until he marketed by others. He created his own army from the beginning. Yes. Kagani nkugamba nti in the early 80s there was a motion in the parliament to remove any representative from the house. The late Oito Joe, who always sat on the opposition side, stood and warned parliamentarians against wasting time debating such a motion. If it is, I quote Oito Joe in 1983, if it is passed as it is, he cautioned, I'm afraid, tomorrow you will not be seated in the same seats you are occupying now. This statement forced the government to withdraw the idea. Who can make such a statement now? Abasajja abamanyi batinyefunza bani ekyuma kirya mayinja tosibira ku bulogu aba Bobi Wine omusajja kasali akatasa k'ennumba leka kusibira ku kutya yansenene duka ekimirente kapatebeera wote wagala njala
kukyalo kufa
zimbira from zero. Is the only leader who independence we inherited the colonial army which was dominantly northern. Nti ku independence twalina amagye 38 ng'abakoko bali 35. This is why Obote could not sack Felix Onama
banga bali abangi
adeko ndichoni yakwata mukazi we ne Felix Onama mbuliri
muganda Obote
ndagamba muganda musajja onja mutira mu cabinet saka him kwa uli omutundu yakwete mu cabinet
muliyanga nfa
ali ku mukazi wange Obote namugaya you stupid yamurepinze mukazi we is malaya
naye ngaobate era nikyoni yava mu gavumenti y'obate mu 1964 Ministry of Information. Why? Obate could not antagonize Felix Onamu kwe yali ayimiridde
omukakwa w'amaanyi oyo
Museveni ani gwatagoba muganda gwe yasookera kamme kamanda
akikoze atya
kyenkubulya study tukiyita systems analysis.
lwaki abaopposition balemeddwa okukola systems analysis lwaki
what drives the system nti look what the Catholic Church is not torn apart. bwe bategeera nti omuganda atali muganda bwemuleeta erubaga abaganda bajja kutabuka. Papa yateekawo archbishop bana
bonna baganda
bonna beetuukira e Roma, Eastern
bonna beetuukira
Western, Northern. Kati Buganda nesigala nga Katikkiro wa Buganda. Tetulina head of the Catholic Church. The head of the Catholic Church is the chairman of the Episcopal Conference, which is rotational. Era kyali embarrassing ti atezibwa akuli ekereziya mu Uganda ate abadde wansi wa kibisoko Lwanga.
Ekyo bakikola batya?
Anti nkubuulira tikakati abantu bonna bagenda e Rubaga nga bagamba nti ziwa yasigalawo yakuuma. They were surprised. Nde Monsignor Olikondi, Monsignor Oliani wa ompaka wa papa omuzungu atayina bajjajjabe wano yasoma kiwandiiko nekigwa
afafe
atayina bajjajjabe wano. So you see
ensegenda kutereera ekyo kino kukolebwa systems analysis
system nti bano abaana bannemukutte
lwaki
ejjogoli mujoga abantu mmwe nojoga nassali kati olaba
lwaki abantu nga
kano kasajja bakakuyamayinje motoka yange nga tebagikuba
mwami Tamale
kasajja bakatimpudde kano kakundu
kaluwa
akakasajja kayupisi ogenze okoledde gavumenti mu covid nosiba bbala yabalyeku kubanga takubera covid balyeku nakuyola nakujoga nakuba mukomera nebakuvunana
nakutulako
kati kali muyiso babadde bakasi
systems analysis lwaki abantu nga bano lwaki babikola Tamale Mirundi
bamutayimbwa muttireyo
mwami Tamale
that's why babajoga kati bano bonna bwe banidde ku mutwe bannasali baani bakeera kumekye ne bamugamba nti ddayo naddayo
bano bakola ki bano bakola ki bano balina mugaso ki
nti nkugamba
bano benjagala
nkugamba unlike Obata who was a figurehead, Museveni's government is tightly under his grip. One of the senior MA officers who have tried to create a tumble of the government have ended up in the coolers. Therefore, since nobody has succeeded to intimidate Museveni, and no one has his political future plans, his political opponents within and outside the government and the NRM party cannot lay political traps for him or jeopardize his future plan. In a world of realities, you can only undermine what you know. You cannot undermine what you don't know. Kati wa Museveni kakati onamwandamine ngoti
kucho
tomanyi future plans.
Kadi ziri wano kufuwa azitadde
wano ekyago bya gundi ekyago bya Omulindo biri mu maaso kujja wange ku secretariat twali tugenda mu bibiina nga tukola ki Museveni takes time tafambulinga kati wakapobulo ne bidande ne bagaliza so form political party unayinza kubanga yayagala kuwumula
tukyagenda mu maaso
kati Mulindo biri mu maaso n'abawabira ne bamusiba. Why did they from Mulindo biri mu maaso to the police, not the NRM disciplinary committee? Because the money had taken was belonging to the party. You cannot use state institution to solve a party problem. Sekikubo yakwata akabokisi ka NRM
n'akasamba
bamukwatako. You cannot use state, use disciplinary measures. But if Sekikubo had killed a person, this is when the state comes in.
Sekikubo is
a
realistic. But technically gwenja kumanya.
Kagani nkugamba. Prior to the third term debate in the parliament, there were two prominent government officials who positioned themselves as successors of Museveni. They set up presidential campaign teams, not knowing that would be the next step of the incumbent, despite rubbing shoulders with him. Had they known, they would not have spent their resources on the futile project. Upon realization that Muzei was still around, they hastily disbanded their campaign teams. Era nze kankubule ekyanyiza Tumukunde kyali kimu. Tumukunde bamugamba nti State House
ne bamusibye omusajja oyo
meeting naye balonze Mama Mbabazi ne Kenya to float as the president considers amendment. If we fail to amend, Museveni yabagamba mbu nti mwe ekyamuletedde ebizibu yalwawo okudecidinga Uhuru Kenyatta. Let us do two things: amend the constitution and then allow our two people to float. In case it fails, tujja kubana. Mbabazi n'ateekawo ttiimu ne Bukenya. Kakati gundi ampita Tumukunde. Ti meeting ebadde egindi ogitegedde mu State House. Kunza sikitegedde nali sikolangayo. Mbu balonze Bukenya ne Gundi ne Mbabazi. Are these people think we are luggages to be put on the way, to be put on the road on the way?
Abazu.
No, don't lose your temper. Museveni is still around. Museveni has never been selfish in anything.
But with leadership,
Museveni talekolanga yo kintu nga yakifunamu. He ends up nga yakifunamu. Oluguudo lwe lwakitula okulukuba kolas lumaze ebbanga ki nga mmwe mugendayo muzeeyo oluguudo lukube ko lwe yalukuba. Museveni is always the last person to do something. Singa muhoozi tafunye buzibu mu famire yaabwe okumumalisinga naki bamuteekamu abakuba abantu mu kibinja ki. Ogundi Museveni yasoose omwana muw'omulimu owalukyamuzi yakolaki owalule yali luddawo owobata ali luddawo
n'abala bangi babaka wa parliament babana
muganda yaleeta ne muganda we ng'afudde. Would it be bad? Nzejagala wanga akuba ebidongo
mama Kitoko naye yaleese muwala we
kakati
tuyagala gwakuba ebidongo
because he's suffering from family fire. Bamusonsekamu abantu mu gundi besi yabalimba
olulimi lwebenda okusurvivinga mu mannyo mu maggwa.
Kakati nkugamba nti during the Constitutional Assembly debate, Justice Professor George Kanyahamba was the NRA point man. In fact, to be fair, he contributed over 80% of the constitutional provisions. He boasted once that at the time of completing this constitution drafting process, he perused through other countries' constitutions and served for North Korea, which was in the native language. And he pointed out Uganda's constitution was the finest, which made meaning. Though, as a delegate, Kanyahamba was and so influential in the Constituent Assembly, CA, which made many movement delegates think he had the president's ear. He never knew about the future plans of Museveni. This is why the term limit was not one of the entrenched provisions in the Constitution, simply because nobody expected that after 20 years of uninterrupted rule, Museveni would still offer himself his candidature. It is at this point that Kanyahamba is very bitter. His intelligence limits were exposed by failure to fully read and comprehend Museveni's future plans. But he went ahead to blame the Constitution that made it easy for Museveni to go past 20 years at the helm. It is this bitterness from Justice Kanyahamba. I don't think this is the document, but this is his document. He makes a lot of noise. Professor Kanyahamba, at the time of formulating the Constitution, was a well-respected legal guru, as is it today. But back then, beside his legal formidability, he was at the same time, he wrongly believed that he knew Museveni's future plans. Kanyahamba is not a political scientist to predict future political events. I want to emphasize the point that attorneys will always be attorneys. Any pretense otherwise will boomerang. If Kanyehamba maintained on his legal identity and never meandered in effort to appease or impose anyone, he would possibly be the happiest Ugandan today. Uganda's constitution will by chances be as he described it as its enactment, because right then he could have influenced the entrenchment of term limits provisions in the 1995 constitution to be left intact 10 years later during the amendment of 205 is useless. This is where politics biva with the law. Akatoka bwembanga tandika nagamba ti omwana ango yali mu parliament nali sagala asome mateeka. I wanted to leave a politician. Why? When I look to many people, lawyers, except the gifted ones, lawyers don't make a good politicians.
Yeah.
Politics and law are never bedfellows. This is for justice. For us, the means justifies the end.
With politics?
Yes. Bano baganti osobola okusumulula abatemu kyenda mu mwenda otemu ali innocent. This is not politics. Kati yesagala lawyer, naye I didn't want a lawyer.
In the family?
Naye akoze abafumize bulungi. The others. Kakati nkugamba, look what the constitution making the process. But Kanyamba yagenda wa president namugamba, do you have anything you want in the constitution? Sebe namugamba ati njagala muki. What we should do is to make a flexible constitution. Kanyamba teyategeera flexible constitution.
Kitegeeza ina kyayagala.
Yagamba Kanyamba nti yagala okukomawo. Kanyamba yalisibye ekisanja.
Naye yamugamba let us make a flexible constitution.
Kakati Kanyamba naddeyo n'agamba banne, let us fix this man to 20 years. Amaze emyaka 10 kati mwongere 10 emirala. Omusajja amaze okugamba nti revolutionary aba n'ebisanja.
Kakati bino ebiriwo.
Ebyo byammwe.
Yalagidde kyamukaaga.
Gambye ti gwe kana akada akawoninga emmotoka. Kakatoka yigino walinga.
Nga kabera
kasibe emmotoka.
Kayitamu n'obutiyo nga bakuziika.
Kuwesanyusa bwese.
Ogera mu maaso.
A revolutionary does not respect term limits. A revolutionary comes for transformation.
Kati nekiriwo kigumaza.
Ati nkubulidde once the man tells you ti am a revolutionary. That's why I want to warn these people, especially Europeans. Look what Mugabe, look what Museveni, look what Gaddafi. Anybody who think that can push Museveni out of this country is making a very big plan. He will die here. Ate Museveni kyayawukana n'abantu ba Mugabe baani realizing a problem. Nti realizing is working on it. Bino ebyokwata abantu abikize. Bano akabinja k'abano ababbi yagambye minisita omuyi babadde bazimbye ennyumba. Badde bazimbye ennyumba ng'eri bullet proof, ng'eri sound proof, ng'eri water proof, mwe batuula okutuula n'enjikwata.
Bantu senenga bakosesa nyingi ez'omiwa omusolo.
Namugamba, Gandhi, tell your friends, I know what you are doing and I arrest you. Minisita yafuse mu mpale. Era chairman w'abasuma w'ekibiina ky'abasuma ekigombe ky'abasuma yabadde akizzizaawo.
Chairman w'abaazu
yadde akizzizaawo ekibinja ky'abasuma ne balonda ne successor wa Museveni. Bagamba omusajja, I can't step down. Are you there? Niba akashamba yaduse akashamba yabadde ekiro mu sipiiki ekiro ng'agenza okuketta amannya Museveni gawaddeyo babakwate nebwenamu lwakashamba ne simukaadi kuliko ndala yataddeyo nalabye chairman w'abasuma ng'agenze wa mukama nakati webali deyatiserena Zimba akumwaka ngekabalabanga
abaza kyogera lunye nti Gaddafi yali selfish.
Kakati nkugamba
aza kyogera lunye.
Another important fact about Museveni where his enemies don't understand. Museveni is always underestimated by his enemies. When you think that Museveni is weak, is at his strongest point.
Waloza nti wamanya ataba muna.
Agenda luno mwabe Masaka mujja kumulabako ng'adduka yaddukira mu Gomesi Besigye yatema
tulinda kwota pini awo
ensole ya Uganda twakafuna abaddukira mu Gomesi nga bakwata Ole Masaka babiri Francis Walugembe bamukwatira ku board
Ole Masaka
ne Besigye yaddukira mu Gomesi nga ne Besigye talina kabina yaddukira atya mu Gomesi mwabe Masaka agenda luno eriyo tsunami eriyoki we don't use short-term strategies to solve a political problem. Mwagamba tajja kulayira kati alayidde wateres nalabye mutabani wange owa Bobi Wine agamba Bobi Wine yatuyeeyo nnyo talina kaakoze wakoleki akoleki namugambye akoleki bweloloza nti agenda
kyeyasuubiza kyabakola
atya tewaliiwo wano omuntu mwetegefu kufa sasi ng'akolera omulala taliiwo why tetunatuuka ku mbeera ya Obote kugenda mu nsiko tewali kyabaganya okukola okujjako bano ababba amata kati amaliba tewali agagula sukaali ebikajja bano ne bababonyabonya kuba mwebali amata mbugalimu faludoni manya nyama erimu faludoni etya. How can a butcher man benefit by powering faludoni mu nyama atya ruzinga weight monopole baba kubigwa mukasa kati mukasa w'ennyanja munyankole ayogera lunyankole nga kuba amato g'abantu. If Museveni visits this area nosanga nti mulwera wayisanga trailer tippers eziva okuyola omusenyu mulwera ekiro kyonna olwera ne baluwamba mbuobukyayina butaddewo omuceere ogwo basempijja n'enzikiriza omuceere oguli mu lwera gwali gulabiddwako ku mawuledi ludda weerukaya buli wamu wonna ne mubbawo kakati mumulowooza mutya sente za education muzibi tulina 2 ministries education enoonya akalulu kuba ekwata ku muzadde na mwana radio muzibye ne TV
agriculture kyekwata ku musamba nanda
muzibbi sente za hezo
agriculture musamba nanda muzibbi
tajja kunjogerako kubanga woti ntajjakimukaleetugakomufogo you are watching me bentu eyo bajasi
amusajja yalayidde kati kyekiddako
kakati nkugamba nti while Museveni was strongly protesting the 1980 presidential elections and threatening to go to the bush thereafter, Dr. Milton Obote and his colonies were laughing him off. Obote reacted that if Museveni there went, he would be followed and left there dead. 5 years later, it is Obote who escaped from Uganda, disguised as a luggage in a cupboard. Apparently, he was running away from his own army, which he had sent to hunt Museveni in the bush. It realized we shall go to the bush and leave him there. Obote yaleta Abangereza, British advance military team, the North Korean commandos, Tanzanian British military team, Nevada na training abajasi mitwale ina, and Kano Ogole to flash out Museveni's menace once. Because we are scattered, never demoralized.
Tuddayo feri
authorities abayitirirawo
tetujja kuddayo
and a fierce battle erupted between Langis and Acholis tife tufe nnyo because the Langis Obote spares Langis Obote, that's why Obote had to appoint Smith upon Acha Erangi. He had to entrust the Luwero operation to Ogole Erangi because they detected that
the Acholis had withdrawn
alire muwanga nga bagala kuwamba gavumenti
nga bacholi bibatamye
nga bibatamye abayinsi olutalo. Soon after the Obote's escape, the generals who overthrew him invited Museveni for peace talks in Nairobi, Kenya. During the course of talks, Okello Lutwa addressed a public rally in Kampala at the State Square, renamed Constitution Square in 1995, where he compared Museveni to a fungal snake which was harmless apart from his scaring look. When the snake invited the comers finally raised his head, Okello Lutwa disappeared in thin air. Kakati omusajja gwanunudde mu nvuba yali ateesa naye atya. Museveni negotiated with the Semwogere as a hostage. Kyobalaba nti aba DP who had already served under Okello Lutwa's government that was killing people, they had lost credibility. They could not reject Museveni's offer. They did not negotiate. They didn't differentiate between a coalition government, a government of national unity, and a broad-based government. Bajira kuchi, ti gentleman's agreement. Abadipi bajira kuchi. Ekibira kyonna ne bakimalayo.
Kyane bakiwaye
na yingira Minister of Foreign Affairs. Muganda we Kawanga, Deputy Minister of Transport. Zakalorumu, I saw him yesterday. Yingira mu kibuga ky'Amalianga. Kuzoganize.
Zakalorumu ina yingira.
Became in agriculture. Ono mugazi gwempulya yogere ennaku zino yali mu agriculture.
Evaristo Nyanzi na yingira.
Musoko yali obulamu. Musoko yali obulamu. Mulaba yogera kati.
Evaristo Nyanzi
yali mesa kamasi
na yingira.
Sebana Kizito oyo no bali tebamuwadde. Sebana Kizito was the deputy leader of the opposition. Ngaba basoka 10 bagenze bali kisiwayiba. Era abasoka 10 bwe bagenda bakazungu bafa. This is why now Busoga is dominated by
Damiano Begati ya yingira. Yali mbitongole bilala.
Bakazungu bali kisiwayiba ali bonna bafa. They joined the UPC, Baby Gong. They joined the UPC. Any mass, but none of Busoga. That's why Busoga politics is dominated by women.
Yeah.
Eyasigalamu yekaya yo chesimira. Atina afama. I'm not seeing their children. Where are the Kazungo's children? Where is the
They are disappointed with the politics.
No, abantu baba chawa. Make a decision. Mayinjalida mo kuyimba.
Ate dobozi yabadde.
Andi kugambe.
Dobozi yabadde.
You cannot move from one end of politics to the other. In the moment I start attacking Museveni, I lose even the support I have. Joba abadde bagadde emmotoka zonna nga tebatambula abantu. Ng'abantu. Naye natengenda ku beat. Basajja ne basindira emmotoka yaabwe. Naye kati sabagambye omusajja yandabye n'abuulira banne ti omukuku navaali omu. Bonna abasirikale bavudde ku mirimu ne bajja babuuze ku mukubu n'abantu ne bakuŋŋaana. Why? Olala nali ngenda mukono kamangali ya poliisi n'ensitopinga naye nga mwagala kunkwata ndikukaana arestiyo naye tugambireko saako yaffe abasajja batubba. I'm very popular in the police force.
Ne bakutuba?
Yes.
Tugambireko.
I'm the only person who can. You know what president agiyingiramu mwali mugamba Kayihura. Iziki saako eyawazalendo ngeewola abantu.
Eyawazalendo
y'abantu yabaaki. Is it welfare? Is it national security fund? Is it what?
What is it? What is it?
Kati oyo aziyina mugagga nnyo ate babalimba mu Museveni yazeewola. That's why Museveni afuna ebizibu. Transfer the anger. Let Museveni find out who is stealing the policemen money. Balinga emitwalo 4. Basoka basala ku mitwalo 10 kati babasalako 5.
Naye wawe batabba.
Akinkubuulira.
Kuba buli kitongole bakibbyemu.
Kati abapoliisi kati nze mpaaba ntya ku poliisi nga n'abapoliisi bababba. Bakalakala ne mundu kufumula tiaga. Lwaki temufumula bakama bammwe abababbye. Kyobala nze nzikiriza mu shiriki. Yes.
13. Ngotekali mu kigali nga
tebana abaana tebakimanyi. Waliwo emmindi bagiyita bisinde bitabwanya. Eba ya mitwe 13.
Bisinde
fuwa kilo 8 ng'oli bwereere. Ne bwe okuba kabina n'oyogera erinnya abo abaana babonye. Mutabani wako Dija bonye.
Tebukubira simu nga mumbuuza emmindi banye bamenya okungamba nti mulanga twala omusajja oyo atulage omusajja we13 oyo olina.
Nnyini bujozi takwanga konga
we 13 oyo amala ekizibu.
Eba ya mitwe 10 ogifu eba munjagana walaji. Ne buli gwokuba ennyuma bwoti n'oyogera erinnya lye ese mutabukira. Jogano nambu byendi bumalamu. Jogano ndi bumalamu.
Emindi bagitunda mpejemida.
Nkugamba nti I attended one of Dr. Semogere's press conferences in 1987. He bragged that it was a DP sustaining the NRM in power. He proudly
so soon like that.
He proudly waved the list of the district commissioners, including the then Kampala Mayor Christopher Yiga. He seemed not to see that the state of affairs was speedily moving in favor of Museveni's NRM. At every stage of his government, there were fears that Museveni wanted to introduce communism. This kept the leaders of the Catholic Church at their toys. However, Museveni won out their hearts and became a close friend of the late Cardinal Soboga and almost the entire Kiraje. In an earlier futile attempt to understand and isolate Museveni as a homemonger, all of the leaders of the political parties joined the Lutwa's government with Paul Mwanga as the chief prime minister in 1985. Today, very few Ugandans still remember that Dr. Paulo Kawanga Semugerere, Bida and his son, Mayanja Nkanya, Abula Award were ministers in the first government. Their strategy was to expose Museveni as a trigger-happy man, but they miscalculated Ugandans' opinion, rating as Museveni. They thought that Ugandans who were being killed, raped by government soldiers would support their new harmony, in inverted commas, harmony government, because all of the opposition sides were representing in it. It didn't work. Instead, Ugandans remained hoping for Museveni's arrival as the remaining hope for total restoration of humanity. Gondi Salimu Saleya ngamba nti wa gasajja gatusalidde amagezi twakiziganyizana go tugaweseepo passage tusisinkane bombo gagenze kuwamba gavumenti nako gaali gagezi gawamba gavumenti kateze n'abayekera era mu buli gavumenti mubeeramu atayagala issues. Gundi Toko yali asomye the minister wa defense wa Egypt nga they are ready to supply weapons. Toko frustrated all efforts natandika okuleta abajasi ba Amin, forgetting Tanzania entered Uganda because of self-security. Tanzania could not allow the Ugandan government that was dominated by Amin soldiers who were being ferried here.
Kweta bakombozi
mwetamanya wawulize Kaire yakwata story n'agitwala mu lupapula lwanga nti Mariamungu mutaka mu Uganda yagenze nemulagwana binansi Nyerere Kukala. The first peace talks were scheduled in Dar es Salaam. Nyerere rejected the talks. How could Tanzania allow soldiers to come back? Then it would make the coast level useless. Was
it a propaganda?
Ati baba bale ebintu tebatubuuza nti okole kino ne kigwamu kino n'okole kino ne kigwamu kino tigwe. Because there is a problem in government, mayiga akolagana bana abantu. When these people have pressure, omanyi kibakola Museveni kiriwo ekiti. If you want Museveni alime kulwanyisa ababbi, create antagonism with the neighboring countries. The people are fueling